I already love same-day delivery with Shipt, but it's so much better since I signed up for Target's Circle 360. Why? Because I no longer pay price markups from the majority of stores through Shipt. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. That means no markups on groceries, pet food, even home goods and makeup. So to recap, I have more time to catch up on life while someone shops for me, and I spend less. It's a win-win. Order now at shipt.com/360. Terms apply.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back. Joining me now is Rod D. Martin. He is the founder and CEO of Martin Capital, and he is also the author of a lively Substack feed, the Rod Martin Report. You can also find it at rodmartin.org. Fox Business calls him a tech guru. The Guardian describes him as a philosopher capitalist, and he was deemed by Blaze TV as one of America's leading public intellectuals. Former policy director to Governor Mike Huckabee, a great man, and an aide to former congressional leader John Paul Hammerschmidt, one of the giants of the U.S. Congress. Rod, thank you so much for joining us on the Roger Stone Show.
It's great to be here.
I watched a great interview with you on Real America's Voice. You were sporting a very good-looking straw fedora, and you were making an excellent case that our good friend Elon Musk, who appears to be back in the fold, is wrong about the big, beautiful bill. Tell us what you meant.
Well, he is, and also the straw fedora is your doing. I got that idea from Stone's Rules, which is a wonderful book. Everyone should go straight to Amazon and buy Stone's Rules. Fantastic. As far as Elon, look, this is literally one of the most brilliant guys of all time. He is what you would get if Thomas Edison and J.P. Morgan had a baby. I mean, he's just incredible, but that doesn't mean he's always right. And the problem we face in this setting is that the Congressional Budget Office is nothing but a deep state op. It always lies, and it's always wrong. So they scored the Reagan tax cuts as ballooning the deficit. Well, the deficit did go up in the 80s, but it's because Tip O'Neill's Democrats in the House spent a new $1.82 for every dollar of cuts. So that's not on the tax cuts. Likewise, in the 90s, they guaranteed we would have huge deficits based on what Newt was trying to get done with Bill Clinton. And instead, we had 4 years of budget surpluses, actually meaningfully paid down the debt for a little while, and that would have continued indefinitely, but for 9/11. We saw the same thing with the Bush capital gains tax cut, where they scored it as costing the government all this revenue, but in fact, revenue more than doubled. And we're seeing it again now. We saw it with the Trump tax cut, of course, in 2017, and we see it now when we're just making permanent what's already the law. They lie, just as they lied about Obamacare, claiming that twice as many people would sign up as actually did, and that it wouldn't affect the deficit, though it did. And the Inflation Reduction Act under Biden was going to be deficit neutral, but in fact, of course, it ballooned the deficit. They always lie against Republicans. They always lie for Democrats. And Elon is not a political guy, historically. That's trivia he doesn't necessarily know. But the reason that it's always that way is, of course, the deep state wants to spend more money, but also because tax cuts stimulate growth. It's just the Laffer curve. It's as plain as day, and we've tested it my entire lifetime. It works. If you want more tax revenue, you have to have more growth. And the way to get that is to cut the tax rates so there's more economic activity.
Certainly the lesson of history. You have people continue to insist, like Robert Reich, who I went to high school with, insisting that the tax cuts caused the deficits. No, whether it was Donald Trump in his first term or Ronald Reagan or John F. Kennedy, every time we had an across-the-board tax cut, federal revenues spiked. The deficit and inflation are caused by excess spending, not by people being taxed too little. The other fraudulent claim, of course, is tax cuts for billionaires. Bernie keeps talking about tax cuts for billionaires. No, the tax cuts are across the board. They're tax cuts for everyone. Rod, give us your latest take on the negotiations with China over tariffs. You called it China's surrender. I read it the same way you do, but lay it out for us.
Well, obviously, the media is going to disagree with us both, because they always do. But it was inevitable. And we talked about this the last time I was on your show. The fact of the matter is China is an export-driven economy. They not only are not a consumption-based economy, but their per capita consumption rate is about half that of the industrialized world beyond their borders. So they can't absorb the goods that they're exporting, and there isn't another market like the United States. The United States is 4% of the world's population and 26% of the world's economy, which is just unbelievable. And yet we keep being told by the media, oh, no, China has the upper hand here. No, they don't. And we can replace what they supply us with some disruption, no question. It's going to take a minute to change the supply chain on pharmaceuticals, for instance, or rare earths. But Donald Trump is already way ahead of everybody on that. And in the meantime, if you just close off access to U.S. markets for the Chinese, which is what a 145% tariff does, that's a depression for China, full stop. There's no avoiding it. So we have what amounts to a surrender. It was inevitable, and it happened. What happened is Donald Trump got China to agree to a tariff framework in which we charge them 55% and they charge us 10%. You really don't need to know more than that to know who won. But on top of that, we've resumed the flow of rare earth elements for civilian purposes. They're still holding the hammer on the military-grade stuff. We'll get to that as we negotiate the permanent deal. We are allowing them to continue to send students to our universities. You know, some people will rightly say, well, a lot of those people are spies. Yeah, but they're going to get their spies in either way, and this way we actually transfer money from the CCP to the United States. So on balance, that's a win. And there are a handful of other aspects of the deal, but they all favor the United States. It's a huge win for Donald Trump's foreign policy. This is absolutely breathtaking and exactly opposite of what our friends on both the left and the right said was ever possible.
The one thing I do think we need to do is to stop the Communist Chinese from buying up prime farmland, ranchland, real estate, even some public facilities, toll rules, bridges, airports in the United States. You can't, for example, in Canada, if you're not a Canadian, you can't buy property. China is buying up huge swaths of property here in the United States. We passed a law in Florida. If you read the headline, it told you that the Chinese were prohibited, but when you read the small print, they were only prohibited from buying land contiguous to a national security site, whatever that may mean, an army base, I guess. Do you agree with the idea that we should stop the Chinese from buying up America?
We absolutely have to. And speaking to the military aspect of it, they are going out of their way to buy land close to military bases. Why would they do that? Well, we just learned. The Ukrainians taught us. They smuggled all these long-range drones into Russia because even though they're long-range, they're not that long-range. So they smuggle them into Russia, and they blow up something between 10% and a third of Russia's nuclear bomber fleet, which is absolutely one of the most stunning achievements of the entire post-war era. Well, Biden had our border open for 4 long years. Anybody could and did come across that border. There's no telling what they brought with them. And they may not even have to have if China has land adjacent to our main bases from which they can launch attacks, whether it's spec ops, missiles, drones, doesn't matter. They're not there for funnies. They're there preparing. and we have to stop it. But I'd go one further, because you said, what about the other agricultural land? We got to put a stop to that, too, because we just had those arrests of the 2 students who had smuggled in what is basically an agro-terror weapon. It's a fungus that would destroy a good chunk of the U.S. food supply and kill a ton of Americans. We've already had Chinese biological warfare unleashed on us in COVID. We can't afford more. We've got to get serious.
If you're just tuning in, folks, we're talking to Rod Martin of the Rod Martin Report, and we'll be back with more of Rod Martin if you just stand by.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Meta AI is the personal AI that's tailored to you, now with its very own app. It's built to get to know you, offering helpful answers and inspiration. Looking for something to add to your bucket list? Meta AI goes beyond traveling the world. It remembers you're a basketball fanatic and suggests you attend one of the playoff games. Just start typing or speaking to get the answers you need, wherever and whenever, because Meta AI is your personal AI. Download the Meta AI app, now available on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
America's beverage companies are investing in America. We're American companies, making American products with American workers in America's hometowns. We're local bottlers and manufacturers, operating in all 50 states, employing more than 275,000 Americans in good-paying jobs, delivering for the nation, because we believe in the promise of America and the people who make it great. Learn more at WeDeliverForAmerica.org, paid for by the American Beverage Association.
Home means something different to everyone. But with Rocket Mortgage, home can mean even more. It can mean a college education, taming your high-interest debt, even a renovation. We've made it easier than ever to use your home equity. That home you worked so hard for, now it can work hard for you. Call 800-4ROCKET or visit rocket.com to find out more.
Rocket Mortgage, LLC, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Choice Hotels gets you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Like these road trippers making waffles and eating fresh fruit in their natural habitat. The breakfast area at a Comfort Inn. I just love seeing a vacation maximized in the wild. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
The Roger Stone Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back. We're talking with Rod D. Martin, founder and CEO of Martin Capital and author of the Rod Martin Report. You can find that at rodmartin.org or over at Substack. Here's some breaking news. Recent reports indicate that there's been a radioactive leak which was detected at Iran's Natanz nuclear facility following the Israeli airstrikes on June 13th. According to the Iranian Nuclear Agency, the leak occurred inside the facility, although they claim there has been no significant increase in radiation levels off-site. The information coming from the Iranian authorities confirmed that no increase in radiation levels was observed at the Natanz site or at the Bushehr nuclear power plant, which was not targeted during the attack. Some of my friends in the Iranian resistance told me of this yesterday. Now it has been publicly reported. Rod, you had a great take on the situation in Iran. Lay it on us.
Well, first, it's essential to say that Israel is doing the whole world a favor. Iran does not have the threat calculus of a rational actor like the Soviet Union, at least from our point of view. We didn't agree with the Soviets. We certainly had diametrically opposed aims to the Soviets, but at the end of the day, you could reason with them on the efficacy or lack thereof of blowing up everybody's cities. The Iranians do not operate by that calculus. Israeli intelligence has good intel suggesting that the Iranians were preparing, and may still be, to hand nuclear weapons to their terrorist proxies, like Hezbollah and Hamas. This is absolutely horrifying. These are people who strap on suicide vests and blow up Jewish schoolgirls. This is a terrible, terrible development, and it looks as though it's pretty clear They were on the brink of being able to build 15 bombs within a matter of days, if not just a handful of weeks. Israel had to strike. They had to strike when they did. They had to strike what they did. And that's good news, honestly, about Natanz, because if they are having a radiation leak within the facility, that doesn't hurt everybody else, but it makes it harder for them to do the work necessary to process weapons-grade material. The one to look for is Fordo, the fuel enrichment plant that's buried inside a mountain near Qom, like some kind of supervillain's lair. I mean, you almost wonder if it has sharks with laser beams attached or something. It's really going to be tough to take this out. It's going to be very nearly impossible to take it out from the air unless the U.S. intervenes. We actually have bunker busters that the B-2s could, or B-52s more likely, could drop successfully on that, but it may actually take a special operations group, and that's a very high-risk endeavor. So we need to keep an eye on Fordo.
It is interesting that, first of all, I think Trump helped lure the Iranians into this. He told them 60 days. On the 61st day, the Israelis dropped the hammer, although he made it very clear that he was fully briefed. And immediately afterwards, you notice that once again he called for negotiations. He said now perhaps they will get the message and come to the table and do so legitimately, do so in good faith. I frankly think that there's no instance in which they will give up their nuclear bomb ambitions, and I agree with you. Unlike the Japanese, unlike the Germans who we faced in a world war, unlike even the Soviets or the Chinese, these are not rational people. These are people eager to die for their ideology as long as they destroy us in the meantime. And whether it is tomorrow or whether it is a year from now, the idea of them being nuclear equipped is untenable. Now, the neocons have been telling us since 1995 that their development of a nuclear capability was days away. But I'm not sure in the end that it makes any difference. Trump will move to defend American interests, and he will move to defend Israel's interests if he has to. In the meantime, I think what he's done here is quite brilliant because he keeps faith with the non-interventionists who elected him, because he ran as the peace candidate, yet he lives up to his responsibilities to do what's in the best interest of both the United States and Israel. His trip to Saudi, his trip to Qatar, this was a diplomatic triumph. Not only did he bring back a lot of commerce and cash, commerce over chaos, as a man I know wrote, but he also made it very clear that the other nations in the region aren't for a nuclear Iran either, not a single one of them. And therefore he has helped isolate them even further.
Absolutely. And yes, everyone should go to rodmartin.org and check out Commerce, Not Chaos, the Emerging Trump Doctrine. What the president achieved in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and the UAE is extraordinary, and it's something that could be good for Iran, too. We can create a commercial web that makes everybody rich and everybody happy. But what we can't do is allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon or a nuclear weapons arsenal, which is what we're really talking about. And it's not just the weapons themselves. Iran is on track right now to build 10,000 nuclear-capable ballistic missiles in the next 3 years. This simply can't be permitted. So we can have peace, absolutely, and everybody can get rich as a result. Or we can be forced to deal with this. The Israelis are dealing with it right now very successfully. If they need help, Donald Trump's going to step in, and he's going to be 100% right to do so.
I was interested to hear the president say yesterday that Vladimir Putin had called him to wish him a happy birthday, and they spoke for an hour, and they addressed the question of Iran. Then it occurred to me that at no time could Vladimir Putin have called President Joe Biden and had a cogent or even reasonable conversation. Clearly, all these world leaders knew that Joe Biden was non-compos mentis. It is reassuring to have a president again, who not only respects our military, as he showed in yesterday's great parade honoring the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, but who also is more anxious to negotiate for peace than he is to move to thermonuclear war. We thank our guest, Rod Martin, the Rod Martin Report. You can go to rodmartin.org, or you can find him at Substack, where he is the Rod Martin Report. Rod, thank you for joining us from Destin, Florida. God bless you, and happy Father's Day.
And you also.
You're listening to the Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Audio Networks, and we'll be right back, so don't touch that dial.
The Roger Stone Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.